Brucellosis is one of the most widespread zoonotic diseases, meaning it spreads from animals to humans. Historically, it was called multifever or undulant fever, named for the way the fever rises and falls in waves. Humans get infected by handling animals, consuming unpasteurized milk or cheese, or inhaling the bacteria in labs. It remains a major global health issue, especially where livestock aren't vaccinated, harming both human health and the economy. Inside the body, Brucella becomes a creator of chaos. It invades macrophages, hiding from the immune system, and then spreads, causing damage throughout the body. This leads to systematic problems in the liver, spleen, joints, and reproductive organs, also causing chronic illness. But the good news is brucellosis is preventable through livestock vaccination, pasteurization, and protective measures. An ancient disease, still a modern threat, but one we can control.
Onto physiological mechanisms. Brucellosis is particularly effective because it's able to invade the immune cell. How it does this is it's engulfed into macrophages, which are the innate immune cells that are usually readily responsible in destroying these pathogens, but it's able to survive and be engulfed by these cells, as you can see in the image. It's in the green cell to the left, and this allows it to avoid detection from other immune cells around it, as well as being shielded mostly from antibiotics, as a lot of antibiotics are not able to penetrate in intracellular environments. Brucella is also able to travel pretty systemically and pretty easily at that through something called the reticuloendothelial system. Essentially, it's able to stay within these macrophages, as well as jumping around to the host's liver, spleen, and other lymphatic tissue, which is pretty much a highway system, and all while staying fairly undetected by the host's immune system. And lastly, and interestingly, Brucella has been shown to show behavior such as tropism, which is just a specificity or rather a preference for certain cell types or tissue to invade. It seems to have high affinity for the placenta and uterus for cows. It's been pretty well documented in this. And it's thought that these environments are very rich in erythritol, which is a sugar alcohol, and that served as a pretty steadfast nutrient source for Brucella. It's also been shown in some cases for human hosts, but the correlation doesn't seem as strong as cows.
As brucellosis replicates in the immune system, it will then reach areas such as the lymph nodes and the spleen. As the immune system tries to fight off the infection, these areas will become inflamed, causing the lymph nodes and the spleen to swell. Due to inflammatory responses, cytokines are then released, which cause the host body temperature to rise, which can lead to fever. Although there isn't an exact pinpoint on how brucellosis affects weight, it may be due to the amount of energy needed for inflammation while the body fights off the infection. However, as brucellosis is able to evade regular inflammatory responses, it can continue to spread throughout the body by macrophages, keeping it in the body longer and instilling illness.
It is very trendy right now to consume unpasteurized dairy products in the pursuit of having a more natural, clean diet. It's important first to understand that many of the quote benefits of raw milk, such as a perceived increased nutrient retention or potential benefits for lactose intolerance, are rooted in myth. Pasteurization works to rid dairy of all the bad stuff like Brucella bacteria and other similarly dangerous bacteria, while also keeping intact all the nutritional benefits that we love about it. Therefore, it's important to ensure we are only consuming pasteurized dairy products. This goes for everyone, but especially for those who may be immunocompromised or for children. And then for anyone who's regularly exposed to unpasteurized dairy, perhaps as part of their job or if they live with milk-producing farm animals, it's important to be careful when working around unpasteurized dairy. Wash thoroughly anything that comes into contact with raw dairy and be careful to keep workspaces like milking barns sanitary to prevent contamination and infection.
Brucellosis is an infection that can be prevented through simple acts such as pasteurizing raw milk and vaccination of milk-producing farm animals. While the prevention is simple, the consequences of not taking these actions can be dire. While there is treatment available to combat the illness, if education on the importance of screening the animals and the pasteurization of milk is better broadcast, then many can be spared from the pain and chronic illness that can happen when these steps are not taken.